presentation of Fox Sports.
A gorgeous day for baseball from Jupiter, Florida. Cardinals fans will see one of the final tune-ups this spring for their ace, big number 50, Adam Wainwright.
And Marlins fans will see Giancarlo Stanton. He's in the lineup today. He'll be followed all year by Michael Morse, an imposing right-handed bat. 4 home runs, 14 RBIs on the spring.
It's the Cards.
It's the Marlins. Next on Fox Sports.
Spring training 2015 rolls on from Roger Dean Stadium in Jupiter, Florida. This afternoon, the St. Louis Cardinals playing host to the Miami Marlins. And along with Tommy Hutton, he is the analyst of Miami Marlins baseball on Fox Sports Florida. My name is Dan McLaughlin from Fox Sports Midwest. And Tommy, we get to see a couple of guys in the lineup today on both sides that have made a good impression here in camp. First and foremost, Michael Morse.
Well, the Marlins, Dan, made a lot of acquisitions in the offseason. I think one of the key acquisitions was that of Michael Morse, who we'll see at first base today. Morse leads the club at RBIs in spring training. He has 3 home runs, and he's an imposing figure hitting behind Giancarlo Stanton.
And on the other side for the St. Louis Cardinals, it's outfielder Randal Grichuk on his way, it looks like, to making the club, heading north in just about a week and a half for the St. Louis Cardinals, also leading their team in home runs and RBIs. Good pitching matchup today. Adam Wainwright, Henderson Alvarez. The Cardinals, the Marlins, coming up next. Cardinals are 10-7-1 this spring. The Miami Marlins 11-10 as we welcome you back to Roger Dean Stadium in Jupiter, Florida. A look at the Marlins lineup with the speedster from Los Angeles, D. Gordon at the top of it, then Christian Yelich and Giancarlo Stanton. We'll highlight Michael Morse. My partner Tommy said to you earlier that Michael's had a great spring. There are the numbers for him. Martin Prado, Ichiro Suzuki, 41 years young. Jared Saltalamacchia, Adeiny Echeverria, and Henderson Alvarez is batting ninth, the pitcher. On the mound for St. Louis, a 20-game winner a year ago, Adam Wainwright, only his second start this spring, coming back up a cleanup of the elbow, and Wainwright is scheduled to be the opening day starter in about 10 days or so, Sunday night, Wrigley Field in Chicago. And let's take a look at that defense, Tommy.
All right, Dan, there's the left fielder, Matt Holliday. Cardinal fans familiar with him. Randall Grichuk is in center. He's had an outstanding spring. Jason Hayward with a couple of gold gloves, a nice addition to the Cardinal lineup. Over at third is Matt Carpenter, Pete Kozma. Dean Anna is the second baseman. Mark Reynolds plays first base today. And Yadier Molina is behind the plate.
It's a voice of Tommy Hutton, the analyst for Miami Marlins baseball. I'm Dan McLaughlin, affiliated with Fox Sports Midwest and the St. Louis Cardinals. It is a split telecast. And fortunately, there's not a curtain between us. We actually get along okay, and so we'll have a little fun today.
Yeah, we did this, I think, last year, Dan. We had a good time.
We did. It is 80 degrees. There is rain in the forecast, but very important for both these teams to get work in particular for their starters.
Yeah, managers don't like to hear that, rain in the forecast. However, it looks like it's going to be a little later in the afternoon, so you want to make sure all your regulars get their work in.
D. Gordon, acquired in the offseason, hit .289 last year with the Dodgers, which was an all-star campaign. He had 64 steals and scored 92 runs. Kind of takes you back to the Luis Castillo, Juan Pierre days with the Miami Marlins, with his speed at the top of the lineup.
And you know what? Juan Pierre has made a number of appearances this spring just to come out, to talk to players, and talk to D. Gordon especially.
What a class act Juan Pierre is.
One of the best.
No balls and 2 strikes on D. Gordon. The battery today is the battery you'll see throughout the season and on opening night for the Cardinals in Chicago, with Adam Wainwright and the 7-time Gold Glover behind home plate in Yadier Molina. The 1-2. Lined into center field. Randall Grichuk is there. One away.
I think in this matchup today with Wainwright going against Henderson Alvarez, who, by the way, hasn't been announced, but looks like he might be the opening day starter for the Marlins. You have a couple of guys who don't waste too much time on the mound. They get it, they throw strikes.
Christian Yelich, outstanding looking young player. Last year he had .284, 9 homers, 54 RBIs, 21 stolen bases. And he just signed a long-term extension to stay in Miami, a 7-year deal.
Yeah, I think along with the 13-year contract that Giancarlo Stanton signed, with Yelich getting locked in for 7 years, it shows the commitment that this organization has to the city of Miami.
The 0-2 is in the dirt. There's a look at Mr. Stanton, who led the team and the league in home runs a year ago. He waits on deck. 1 ball and 2 strikes on Christian Yelich. Ground ball that's hit to short. Taken by Pete Kozma, who's had an outstanding spring. Over to Mark Reynolds, and there's 2 down.
Looked like Reynolds had a little mix-up with his footwork, but got to the ball anyway. But, yeah, when Kozma gets that ground ball, he's got sure hands. He's usually going to make that play.
Any lingering effects after the Mike Fiers fastball that hit the face of Giancarlo Stanton a year ago?
You know, not that we've seen in spring training. He's been brushed back a couple of times. He's had some hard fastballs thrown inside, and he's had good reactions to those pitches.
So 2 outs and nobody on, and the pitch is taken low and away. A unique helmet. Schutt Sports designed the helmet with Stanton as he flew to their facility to get it all done the right way. And he launches this into left center, and it's gone.
And Dan, you were asking me about any ill effects from that pitch that Mike Fiers threw in Milwaukee to Giancarlo.
That's my answer.
That's your answer.
That's my answer. He launches his 2nd home run this spring. He picks up his 8th RBI. 37 of those a year ago.
Well, many thought, myself included, if he had not missed that final couple of weeks, he would have been the MVP. There's a breaking ball out over the plate, and obviously not where Wainwright wanted to make that pitch, and he paid the price.
Now Michael Morse. Morse is a Florida native and was actually at the inaugural Marlins game back in 1993, which was started by the one and only Charlie Huff. Matt Latos was there as well, and he's also a new face for the Miami Marlins. And Tommy, this gives Stanton protection. It'll be interesting to see how teams approach this combination, 3 and 4 in the lineup.
You know, the first half of the season last year, Casey McGee did a tremendous job. He tailed off the second half, hitting behind Stanton. But I think a more imposing figure is Michael Morse, who showed his prowess in postseason last year with the Giants.
And a strikeout of Morse, and the first of the afternoon for Adam Wainwright. Home run number 2 this spring off the bat of Giancarlo Stanton. 1-0 after a half inning. Marlins on top.
There's parallel.
A 1-0 lead for the Marlins. Long home run into left center off of Adam Wainwright. A look at the Cardinals lineup from Mike Matheny's club. Matt Carpenter leads it off, followed by the former Brave Jason Hayward, and then Matt Holliday. Mark Reynolds, Yadier Molina. We highlight Randall Grichuk, the center fielder today. Good numbers. Dean Anna, Pete Kozma. He's hitting .452 to lead all hitters in spring, whether it's in Arizona or down here in Florida. And Adam Wainwright will bat ninth. Henderson Alvarez, the starter today for the Miami Marlins.
Dan, we talked about a couple of pitchers today at Alvarez and Adam Wainwright who are guys who don't waste much time. They're also guys who are terrific athletes, tremendous fielders. Wainwright with a couple gold gloves. They're both good hitters. Alvarez does the same, fields his position extremely well. Lots of hard sinkers and a power changeup.
Matt Carpenter was hit by a pitch from Max Scherzer yesterday in the ballgame. There's that interesting delivery, the first of the game by Alvarez. Why does he do that?
It's just something that he started doing a few years ago. It kind of gets him settled in. And I'm always surprised the hitters don't swing because pretty much 100% of the time it's a fastball.
Mm-hmm. Here's a 1-0 pitch to Carpenter. They called it a contusion on the thigh, the fastball that hit him from Max Scherzer, and he's back in there today. 1 ball and 1 strike. Matt is hitting .348, no home runs. He's driven in 2. And he pops it foul and out of play. 1 ball and 2 strikes.
Speaking of Max Scherzer, looked like he's getting ready for his opening day assignment. Had a nice outing for the Nationals yesterday. 9
strikeouts, and he was as impressive as anybody we have seen so far in camp. Martin Prado with 2 strikes at third backs up, and Carpenter just got a piece to stay alive. I think you're looking at the Nationals, and I'd throw Miami right in the conversation as a team that has a chance to win the Eastern Division.
I think so. I think a lot of people are feeling that same thing, and if the Nationals don't get off to a good start, it'll be interesting. They've got a few guys banged up right now.
The 1-2, and Carpenter puts it in play. 1 away.
Well, we told you about Alvarez, his defensive ability, making an easy play there. Here's the rest. Christian Yelich won a Gold Glove last year. Ichiro Suzuki plays center in this one today. Giancarlo, the right fielder. Prado, Echeverria, D. Gordon, and Michael Morse around that infield with Jared Saltalamacchia behind the plate. I always just put Salty in my scorebook, though. It's easier.
Easier to say, too.
Yeah.
And if you're the equipment man of the Marlins or any of the teams that Jared's been a part of, you're wishing he went by Salty. Trying to fit that last name on that jersey's tough. There's Jason Hayward in an 0-1 pitch. You saw a lot of Jason Hayward with the Atlanta Braves. Tell the Cardinal fans what kind of player they're getting.
Well, I tell you what, Jason Hayward, the Marlins are glad he's in another division because he always got big hits against Miami. He's a solid player. I don't think he's ever done what people thought he would as far as 25, 30 home runs. Excellent outfielder in right field. One of the best defensive right fielders. And a solid player. He's not going to drive in a lot of runs, especially if Mike Matheny hits him in the number 2 hole either.
I think it's interesting how Mike Matheny is using his lineup, too. Ton of lefties in this lineup. Would he go lefty-righty to try to stagger that, especially late in games? And Hayward may have just tied this game up. Long one into deep right field, and this ball is gone. Hayward's first of the spring, and we're tied up 1-1.
Well, what happens? We talk about Hayward maybe not hitting the number of home runs everybody expects. That's his first home run of the spring. And a blast, a no-doubter. Stanton just kind of stood flat-footed and watched it sail over his head.
The first extra base hit this spring for Jason Hayward, who came in hitting .320. I'm sure that's a relief for him. And it brings in Matt Holliday. Holliday, no home runs. He is driven in 2 and batting .333.
I think the area that you'll probably keep an eye on this year, Dan, is your left-handed hitters against left-handed pitching.
Exactly.
It's been a struggle with Hayward over his career against lefties. You and I were talking before the game. Matt Adams at first base at times struggles against lefties.
There's a base hit out to left. The second hit for the Cardinals here in the bottom of the first. Well, one way to defeat that at times is the guy at the plate, and that's now Mark Reynolds, who was signed in the offseason. You get a right-handed bat, and in many ways he is all or nothing. Strikeouts, but a ton of power and home runs.
Yeah, this guy has made the strikeout an art.
That's a good way to put it. 1 out, a runner at first. And a swing and a miss by Reynolds. He's had 207 homers since 2008. And that trails only Miguel Cabrera, Albert Pujols, Adam Dunn, Jose Bautista, and Prince Fielder. Next, Mark Reynolds. He began his career with the Arizona Diamondbacks. Drafted in the 16th round in 2004 out of the University of Virginia.
One of the many players out of that area.
Ryan Zimmerman, David Wright.
Michael Kadire.
The Uptons. Michael Kadire's had a very good spring with the Mets. Holliday is hopping down there at first as Reynolds hits it out of play and foul. 2009, he had 44 home runs. So this guy does deliver pop.
7 years in a row, 21 or more. And these are acquisitions that don't make the headlines, but sometimes really pay off for a ball club.
No balls and 2 strikes. Alvarez a check on Holliday. Tommy Hutton of Fox Sports Florida, Dan McLaughlin of Fox Sports Midwest with you. It's another 0-2 pitch on its way. A check swing, and he did go. Strikeout of Reynolds, and the first of the afternoon for Henderson Alvarez. That brings in Yadier Molina.
The thing that Henderson Alvarez does so well, he has a tremendous fastball, and he sinks it. Then he'll throw a changeup. A lot of scouts aren't sure what it is. It's in the upper 80s, sometimes 90 miles an hour, but it's just a hard sinking changeup.
Molina A fly ball into center. There's the 41-year-old Ichiro Suzuki to put it away. In the top of the first, Giancarlo Stanton, he had 37 a year ago, takes Adam Wainwright deep. That was into left center. Then Jason Hayward, his first of the spring, a no-doubter to right. A pair of solo shots were tied up at 1. Tommy Hutton, Dan McLaughlin with you. Jason Hayward has tied the game up for St. Louis with a solo home run to right. Jason Hayward and Giancarlo Stanton both coming up right around the same time. And as you talked about, Tommy, so much was made of Hayward coming out of that pipeline of great players in Atlanta. He burst onto the scene with a 3-run homer in his first at-bat against Carlos Zambrano in the Major League debut that really caught everybody in terms of attention. Like, uh-oh, this is the guy. This is what we've been hearing about. He was the #1 overall prospect at one point, and this is Martin Prado at the plate.
It's been very interesting watching Hayward and Giancarlo Stanton, who came up about the same time, watching their careers. Stanton, as a kid growing up in the L.A. area, didn't play in all the showcases and all the baseball as Hayward did in the Atlanta area. He was a good basketball player. Stanton played football. So as far as baseball smarts, Hayward might have been a little ahead.
Backhanded by Reynolds. Leads Wainwright to the bag. 1 away. One thing that Mike Redmond knows, though, from this year and for many years, he has Giancarlo Stanton in the middle of his lineup, and that has to be comforting for him.
Well, he has a more set lineup. He used 102 different lineups last year, and that number should be much lower this year.
Ichiro Suzuki, one of the more intriguing players in any camp for any team, as he is closing in on 3,000 hits. He's 166 away, keeps himself in tremendous shape, still throws well. The Cardinals have seen that. He's gotten 2 Cardinals trying to advance on the base pass already this spring. And he would be, for all intents and purposes, the 4th outfielder on a group that that nucleus is very, very good, maybe the best in baseball for the Marlins. Suzuki puts it in play, slaps it left side, and Carpenter makes the play. 2 down. And with 2 outs, it brings in Jared Sotomayor. Always find it interesting when you have catchers that are now managers, and we have that in this game today with Mike Matheny and Mike Redmond.
Well, Matheny 44 years old, Mike Redmond 43, so a couple of relatively young managers. Redmond in his 3rd year, Matheny in his 4th.
The shift is on for Jared Saltalamacchia in year 2 of a 3-year contract after winning the World Series with the Boston Red Sox. Hitting just .214 this spring. This is as pronounced a shift the Cardinals have had on anybody this spring. That's Kozma, a long way to go, and coming on Holiday, and he can't make the catch.
Now there's an example of what happens with the shift. Sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. If they're not in a shift, someone in the infield probably makes that play. But Holiday looks up, and he's the only guy there. There's nobody on his side with the third baseman. Kozma is over. Carpenter's over. Holiday goes, I'm the only guy, and he just did miss it.
Well, let me ask you this. Do you want to be Pete Kozma with Matt Holiday coming at you? I don't think so.
Actually, Kozma's probably happy he was in the shift right there.
It's a freight train coming at you. Adeiny Echeverria, outstanding defensive player. And when I was talking to some of the Marlins folks, just like you do, Tommy, day in and day out, they think the offense eventually will be there.
Well, it was there last year. He raised his average to 276. If you're Echeverria, if you're the Marlins, and he hits 276 and plays the defense that he's capable of playing, you're happy.
Andrelton Simmons, so many people around the game, and rightfully so, talk about his defense. To me, Echeverria is right there with him. He is a dazzling defensive shortstop. Pops that foul, 1 ball and 2 strikes.
Yeah, he's in the unfortunate situation of being a young shortstop in the National League, but everybody talks about Simmons with the Braves.
1 ball and 2 strikes. And a breaking ball that's chopped to third. Tricky hop for Carpenter. Long throw, and he makes the play. So the Marlins strand a runner, their first of the afternoon. Grichuk leads it off when we come back. Palm Beach County. This is one of the northernmost suburbs of the Miami metropolitan area. And fans from all over the Midwest follow the Cardinals down here. This is technically a Cardinals home game as Miami and St. Louis split the complex in this facility. And it looks like we're going to be here, Tommy, for many years to come.
Yeah, it does. It's a tremendous facility. I think over the next few years, we'll see a few upgrades, especially down the road, possibly in a couple of years, the Astros and the Nationals moving to West Palm Beach.
And that's the key.
Yeah.
Yeah, you look at Arizona, and the longest ride for many of those teams is 45 minutes. And there's multiple teams to play where here in Florida, you're going across the state, and you've got the 2 to 3 hour bus rides. And players don't want to deal with that with a long, grueling season coming up as Grichuk hits it sharply to third. Nice play by Martin Prado for the out.
Yeah, they talk about sure hands, and Martin Prado has the sure hands. He's always been a versatile player, but he's going to be locked in at third base. He's taken a lot of ground balls there in spring training. But he's a guy over the years we've seen in left field. He can play many other positions, but extremely solid defensively.
I was surprised that the Yankees said goodbye to Martin Prado. He is a good player. Here's Dean Anna. He's trying to make this club as a bench player, utility guy. Could play shortstop and second base. He's a former batting champion in the minor leagues. He did that in 2013 in the PCL with Tucson, which is the AAA affiliate of San Diego. He's had a little big league time, a handful of games with the New York Yankees a year ago. Then was traded to Pittsburgh, went to their minor leagues, finished up there, and the Cardinals signed him in the offseason.
When you come to a new organization, you always want to make that good first impression. So a guy like Dean Anna just try to do that for the organization, for Mike Matheny.
And he draws a walk on 4 pitches. You know, the problem is, though, Tommy, we have our caravans and we go around the Midwest, and Dean Anna was asked about his favorite team growing up, and he said the Chicago Cubs.
That's not good.
No, you can't say that in front of the Cardinal fans.
You got to do your homework a little better.
Just lie, make something up. Yeah. Anybody but the Cubs.
Say the White Sox.
Exactly. That's fine. We can handle that.
Speaking of the Cubs, how's that opener going to be in Chicago in April? April 5th.
Balmy, warm, just like it is down here. Just think about that. The Cardinals will go from the 80 to 90 degrees that we've had at times down here as Cosma looks at a strike, to opening night to start the entire season, Sunday Night Baseball at Wrigley Field without bleachers, and probably looking at 35 to 40 degrees.
Possible snow flurries. You never know.
Absolutely. Anna, by the way, is a threat to steal. We'll see if the Cardinals want to be aggressive against Jared Saltalamacchia, who did have some issues last year at times defensively. And Cosma pops it foul and out of play. So no balls in, 2 strikes, and Cosma, without it being official, has made this team. Cardinals have played him in the outfield. He's a natural shortstop, and he's had an outstanding spring. Nothing in 2 the count with 1 out and a runner at first.
You can always remember the toughest part being an extra man, such as a Pete Cosma, is that you get a lot of playing time in spring training. You get lots of at-bats, you get some defensive play, and then when the season starts, your playing time kind of shortens up a lot. It's always hard to make that adjustment.
Isn't that why that, and you played a number of years in the big leagues, it may be the hardest job in sports to be that bench player, to stay sharp, to stay in the league for a number of years, being that type of player.
And I think the way the game is going with more bullpen usage, the guy who's a versatile player is very important to every ball club.
Just got a piece to stay alive. Not knowing exactly who the 5 are for the Marlins, I'll ask you. We see Henderson Alvarez, you alluded to it earlier, very well could be the opening day starter for Miami. You have Jared Cozart, who's been in the news, Matt Latos, Dan Herron, and Tom Kohler.
That's a real good guess. The others that are vying for that number 5 spot would be a Brad Hand and a David Phelps, who came over from the Yankees in that trade with Prado, who had an outstanding outing yesterday in Lakeland.
And Tom Kohler, at the age of 28, could wind up being the oldest pitcher in that rotation. It's a young group. 1-2 is lifted in the air to right center. There's Ichiro. Out number 2. We haven't mentioned the name of one Jose Fernandez.
Yeah, that's always good when you can talk about the rotation. Jose actually had a session today, threw about 50 pitches. He's starting to incorporate some changeups after coming back from Tommy John surgery. Cardinal fans and Adam Wainwright know what that's all about. And hopefully, if everything goes well for Jose, the Marlins should see him late June, early July.
What a pickup that would be for a team that should be in contention.
I got a question for you, Dan. With the early little bit of injury that Wainwright had to his abdomen, has he been swinging the bat, or is he up there instructed to take?
It's a good question, because I was shocked in the previous start. He was swinging the bat and swinging it aggressively. I thought they would instruct him to take, and there's your answer again.
There's a big swing.
Yeah, I really did think that would be the case. He hurt his oblique, or the abdomen, lifting a 45-pound weight, so it wasn't a baseball exercise.
The kind that you and I toss around all the time.
You and I do that in our sleep, but for this professional athlete that's 6'5", 235 pounds, it obviously affected him. Pretty good cut. He's a very good hitting pitcher.
Well, 6 career home runs. Talked about it earlier. 2 Gold Gloves. So 2 very competitive, athletic type pitchers in this game today.
0-2 the count. A short lead at first by Dean Anno, drew a 1-out walk as we play here in the home half of the second. Wainwright on the breaking ball, pops it up, and this will be D. Gordon. He puts it away, and Henderson Alvarez is through 2. There's Jose Fernandez coming off of Tommy John, one of the great young stars in the game today.
The new Marlins 10-game mini plans are on sale now. 10-game plans start as low as $250 and include tickets to some of the season's biggest games at Marlins Park. Quantities are limited, so secure your 10-game plan today. Call 1-877-MARLINS or go to marlins.com/2015 tickets. Marlins baseball, dive in.
1-1 the Marlins and the Cardinals. Chuck Hernandez is the pitching coach for the Miami Marlins. And first of all, Coach, thanks for being with us. We appreciate it very much. Tell us what you've seen so far from your starter today.
Well, so far, Hendu's, he's gotten off to a better start. He's starting to get his fastball command down a little bit better in the zone, so we're happy about that, other than the one pitch to Hayward that he deposited over the top of that green roof up there.
Hey, Chucky, we saw a couple of breaking balls he threw to Wainwright. I know that's a pitch you sometimes would like to see Henderson throw a little bit more.
Yeah, and he has been last outing out in Washington. He threw some of the better breaking balls that he's thrown in his time here with us. So he's been working hard at it, trying to incorporate a third pitch. It gives him some better options against right-handers from time to time.
Here is Alvarez at the plate, and he looks at a strike. Chuck, as you can imagine, baseball fans across the country want to know about Jose Fernandez. Such a great young talent. Number one, how does he look this spring, and what he's doing to progress back from Tommy John surgery? Number two, realistically, what are you hoping for him this year?
Well, first off, he's looking great. I mean, he feels excellent. If there's anything we need to monitor, it's just to slow him down a little bit. He's always in a hurry to go, but we're real happy with where he's at. He's in a good place. He keeps building arm strength and getting the reps underneath him. So we like where he's at. And basically, when the time is right, and we feel like he's completely ready and healthy and set to go and cleared by medical staff, and he'll rejoin our team.
What other pitchers, or has he, Chuck, has Jose reached out to any other pitchers who have gone through Tommy John surgery?
Yeah, I know he's talked with Harvey over in New York. I know he reached out to Wheeler just this week. Anyone that's been through this, I guess some sort of a brotherhood erupts, and they talk to each other. And, look for this, you're going to feel that. And there's a lot of veterans around. I mean, this injury is so much part of our game anymore that you don't have to look far. There's probably 4 or 5 guys on your own team always that have already been through it and gone through the rehab. So, he's a young guy. He's constantly asking questions to the people that have been through it and trying to gain as much information as he can to help make his progress, as efficient as possible.
Chuck Hernandez, the pitching coach of the Miami Marlins, is our guest. The 2-1 to D. Gordon is tap foul on a bunt attempt. Do you have a theory, Chuck? I mean, you've been around this game a long time as to why we're seeing so many of these players have Tommy John.
Yeah, I mean, I talked to guys that have been around a lot longer even than I have. There's so many variables. There's people talking about what side of a rubber you throw off of. Let's be honest. Have we ever seen in our business so many kids that throw so hard? Your ligament is still a ligament. No matter how much arm strength you have. There's a lot of different ideas that are out there that, who knows, because they continue to happen. They continue to break records, at a pace that, we've never seen before. So, I don't think anyone has the exact answer. It seems like we protect pitchers more now than we ever have in the history of our business, and it seems like they get hurt more. So, you could talk to 5 different people, so you're going to get 5 different opinions on why it's happening more.
The speed there of D. Gordon, who led the league in triples last season, picks up a triple there with 1 out.
The amazing thing about D. Gordon, Dan, is he had those 12 triples last year with the Dodgers. He's playing in a bigger ballpark, right. a more friendly triples
Great
ballpark
point.
at Marlins Park this year. Chuck, the other thing with Tommy John, we're watching Adam Wainwright. And at 33 years old, he's out there going strong. He's won 38 games or 39 games the last 2 years. So that has to feel good and be uplifting for a kid like Jose to see that.
Yeah, one of the biggest differences I see is the way the pitchers come back. And I think it is because of a history of so many guys coming back well from it. Oh, boy, 15, 20 years back, we'd have the rare Tommy John, and you'd see a kid, boy, at the beginning, you're wondering, I don't know if he's ever going to be able to pitch again. But like so many successful surgeries have taken place that they come back and they almost feel like, okay, I'm better than ever, And in many regards, they've done more strength training and more arm exercises and things that they may never had done if they hadn't had a Tommy John. So it continues to cycle in a place where there's been good success, and I think kids are more confident. And by no means am I encouraging any parent or anybody to send your kid off to get a Tommy John, because it's not guaranteed.
Chuck Hernandez, our guest. It's runners at first and third, and Giancarlo Stanton at the plate. Chuck is the pitching coach of the Marlins. Who else has really impressed you from your staff that you like, that you've seen so far here in camp?
Well, one thing we feel good about, we think we have a pretty high quality and deep bullpen. So most of our guys, I feel safer now. I was in a bad spot earlier. With my back to him, I don't really like that. But, most of our bullpen guys have gotten good work in. Our starters, we were nicked up a little bit here and there throughout camp. Nothing that kept us totally off the mound, but didn't quite get our reps of work that we'd like to get going. But now it seems like everyone's kind of rounding into shape. So, we just got to push forward another week and get ready for the start.
Talk about the depth. A good outing by David Phelps yesterday in Lakeland, who could start. He could be in the bullpen. Good swing by Stanton there, who's hit the ball hard twice today. And also Brad Hand's thrown the ball pretty well.
Yeah, Brad's thrown the ball real well. And, he continues to gain a little confidence here in the big league. So hopefully he's going to, before the year's out, it's going to pay some dividends for us. 1
out, runners at second and third. And this is Michael Morse at the plate. And he's hit by the pitch, and things unraveling a bit in this second start for Adam Wainwright. Alvarez, the pitcher, lined out. One of the hardest hit balls of the day off of Wainwright to start the inning. Then the triple by Gordon. Yelich the bunt. Stanton the double. And now Morse is hit by the pitch to load him up for Martin Prado.
Most pitchers try to work Michael Morse inside. Looked like a two-seam fastball. Got away from Wainwright. You know, they have 4 hits up there. I gave Yelich a hit on that bunt because of the attempt that Wainwright had, just kind of a backhand flip to the plate. He thought Gordon was coming in. I don't know if they have officially given Yelich a base hit, though.
So Martin Prado is at the plate. Not that you want to announce your opening day starter, Chuck, or give us the 5 that will be in your rotation. We have speculated about that. However, the 5 that we talked about, the oldest would be Tom Kohler, who is 28. That is a young staff, but I'm sure for you it's kind of an exciting way to mold guys and teach them the game that you want them to do, the way that you want them to approach every start every 5th day.
Yeah. Actually, I feel like we're old now. 2 years ago we started, we were really young. Because I think we had a 20-year-old, a couple of 21, 22, 22. It was very young. So now a couple guys are 26, 27. So it makes it feel like, boy, this is a real veteran staff. But we're still, a lot of them are young in the big leagues and still getting their feet on the ground and trying to become a good major league starting pitcher.
Popped up to Pete Kozma as Prado is out number 2.
Chuck, how much, if any, do you put into some of the high ERAs from your starters in spring training?
In spring training, not much. Not much, Tommy. I mean, there's, first of all, when you're pitching in spring training, we're not really pitching to, you're not really using the scouting report. You're getting the pitches you need to get ready for the season. You're getting them ready. I look more at the quality of what we're throwing and trying to execute the pitches we make. I've seen for years guys have fantastic springs and get off to horrible start. And guys that had horrible springs get off to 6-0. So I don't put a lot of stock into it. My basic thing is to get out of camp healthy, with your arm feeling strong and feeling good, and you got feel for all your pitches, and you're ready to execute a game when you get out to under the lights and we get this thing going for real.
That's outside, and the breaking ball slipping out of the hands of Wainwright. I'm curious, Chuck, and I know you're dealing with pitchers and a pitching coach, but what's it been like to watch a 41-year-old Ichiro Suzuki do his craft day in and day out?
Oh, it's awesome. Every time he comes in the dugout, I think he's 21 and half the other guys are 41 because he has more energy and excitement every day he walks out here to the field. So I know it's really, really cool for, Christian Yelich, Mike Stanton, Ozuna, guys that are young guys that we think got a chance to be super players for us, and to be around a pro like that brings energy at his age, and he still knows how to handle that bat.
Does he ever? He is so much fun to watch.
That's one of the small stories coming out of Marlins camp. He's working with Marcell Ozuna, young center fielder, a little bit of Japanese each day, helping him out.
Yeah,
nice.
Yeah, that's good. He speaks more languages than Marcell, so we're trying to get him going with 2 pretty good, and then he's working a day. I think a word a day is the plan.
That's it. And by the way, that's his first walk of the spring for Ichiro.
He walked?
Yeah.
That's almost impossible.
A bases loaded walk, and Ichiro drives in his 4th, and it brings in Jared Saltalamacchia. Derek Lilliquist, the counterpart of Chuck Hernandez, is out. What are those conversations like right there, Chuck? What is Derek Lilliquist, and I know you're not in that, but what's he saying to Adam Wainwright?
I don't really know what he would be saying because I don't know what Derek's thinking. I know that he's got an awfully talented and one of the finest pitchers in our business out there on the mound, so I'm sure they're just checking in to make sure everything's feeling fine and everything is going according to his plan. I don't think he's panicking over a couple runs in a spring training game with Adam Wainwright.
I always get curious about those conversations. A guy like Wainwright, he's closed out a World Series, 2-time 20-game winner. That conversation might be a little bit easier than one that you have with a kid that's just up, and maybe you're challenging him a litof bit. You've had to do that.
Yeah. At times, in our business, you're either getting better or you're getting worse. You don't usually stay the same. So, and one of the things about the great veteran pitchers that I've been fortunate enough to be around or known is that they're constantly working at their craft. The older they get, the more they know they need to stay on top of, and stay on point with certain aspects. And sometimes you see guys that have great talent and have a nice run and they think they got it, and well, their career was a little bit shorter. But when you start stretching out, I saw him close out a World Series firsthand. I didn't care for it a lot.
Sorry to bring that up.
That's all right.
I know you did, and
okay.
I didn't mean to rub it in the salt the wound.
No, it was true. It was true. He did, but he's really excellent. What a tremendous pro, and what a great pitcher.
Count is 2-2 on Jared Saltalamacchia.
I'm just thinking about the old stories that were told about Tim McCarver going out to the mound talking to Bob Gibson, and Gibson said, "Timmy, get back behind the plate. You don't know anything about pitching."
Yeah, the only thing you know about pitching is that you can't hit it.
You can't hit it.
That's what Gibby told him.
Yeah, and I would probably agree with that. I wouldn't want to probably go out to talk much with Bob Gibson.
3-2 on Saltalamacchia, so the runner's off with this next pitch with 2 outs. Chuck Hernandez, very kind to join us and great insight into the game today. Appreciate his time. And the 3-2 to Saltalamacchia. And he froze him. Chuck, have a great year. We really appreciate your visit here today.
Thanks,
you.
Chuck. Appreciate you guys.
You bet.
All right.
Chuck Hernandez, fine pitching coach of Miami. Marlins on top. They pick up 2. It's 3-1. Rain has started to fall here at Roger Dean Stadium in Jupiter, Florida. The lights are on as Giancarlo Stanton has a couple of hits today, including a home run and an RBI double. One of the great young players and faces of the game today, Giancarlo Stanton. And his next home run puts him ahead of Dan Uggla for first all-time in Marlins history.
You look at those numbers, and certainly not the franchise numbers that Cardinal fans see, but when your franchise began in 1993, pretty impressive. And the other guy that he's tied with having a nice spring for the Washington Nationals, Dan Uggla. Looks like Uggla may make that ball club with a couple of injuries the Nats have.
To me, it's one of the great Rule 5 pickups in the history of baseball, Dan Uggla. Power hitting second baseman who, by the way, will pick up a World Series ring from the San Francisco Giants, having gone hitless in 9 at-bats.
He was hitless, and he made a couple of errors, too, in the field.
Ouch. But you're on the team. You contribute one way or another, and you pick up the ring. Here's a 1-0 pitch to Matt Carpenter. And a fly ball lifted out to left. Long way to go for Yelich. Can't make the play. And Carpenter trotting into second base with a stand-up double. Tommy, you and I did a split game last year, and it rained. And we questioned as to whether or not they should continue to play. It was a very hard rain. And sure enough, Mark Ellis, at that time, was playing third base. And he slipped. And he injured himself. And he was never the same player. It took him a long time to catch up and just get his timing back. He didn't want to do much in terms of a rehab. And so he comes back to live action and was not the same player, and Mark Ellis has retired.
Terrific player, too, Mark Ellis. Very solid.
Now brings in Hayward, who is homered, and he chops it to the right side. Gordon has to hurry. and they get him by a step.
Well, it's a tough play.
Runner.
It's a tough play for any infielder because you can't get to that ball and get the big hop. You have to wait for that second hop, and that could be a tricky one. And D. Gordon stayed with it and made a nice play, knowing that Hayward runs extremely well. The official score, Dan, and I'm prone to at times not always agree, has kind of
I've heard you
stuck to their guns and is giving the ball that Yelich hit, ruling that and calling that a fielder's choice.
I disagree. I thought it was a base hit. I had it down in my book as a hit.
Ask Adam Wainwright after the game if he thinks he would have had a chance at first base to get Yelich.
The way the Cardinals had played that, they were holding D. Gordon, who was the runner at third, trying to keep him close. Yelich put the ball in play with the bunt. Would have been a tough play to get him at first with his speed.
In essence, it was a safety squeeze.
Exactly.
Gordon elected not to come to the plate.
So light rain here at the ballpark, and a 1-0 pitch to Holiday, who singled to left his first time up. And he looks at ball 2. Very steady rain here at Roger Dean Stadium. The 2-0. Let's go back to the play you're talking about.
Yelich drops down the bunt. Gordon does not come. It's not a suicide squeeze. Right there, even if Wainwright catches the ball cleanly and thinks about going to first base, Christian Yelich runs up the line quickly, has tremendous speed.
The 2-1, a liner into center field. That'll score Matt Carpenter. And Holiday is 2 for 2, and that cuts into the Marlins lead. It's now 3-2 here in the bottom of the third.
Well, both teams' number 3 hitters have been productive. Stanton, a home run and a double, 2 RBIs. Holiday, 2 for 2 now, driving in a run with this base hit.
In steps Mark Reynolds.
Always enjoy watching the intensity of Matt Holiday.
Think about the distance of home runs. Little check swing, and that'll roll fair. Morris will take it, and Holiday advancing to second base. But Holiday was 1, and Stanton 2 a year ago in terms of average distance of home runs, well above 400 feet. Everybody in the game today, Tommy, with what they've done with the drug policy, now it seems like when you talk to scouts or you talk to those that are out there doing the drafts, they're all looking for power hitters. They are tough to find in the game today.
When you see that guy that has that natural power, and I always describe it with Stanton, is that you can stand around the batting cage with your back to the hitter
and hear it.
You can tell it's him hitting.
Yes.
By the sound.
Yadier Molina with 2 outs, and a curveball drops in for his strike.
This guy doesn't have that sound, but he has that ping. Yadier Molina, he gets big hits all the time.
Very good at serving the ball to right. He has come into camp in arguably the best shape he's ever been in.
How does he think the weight loss and the way he is right now will affect him during a long, hot St. Louis summer?
What they've talked about, and he has mentioned this, the weight loss was designed to take pressure off the knees. He had 7 consecutive years of at least 1,000 innings behind home plate. So it's more about longevity and health. And I guess time will tell in terms of the weight loss and conditioning and see how it affects him.
Is that Yadi also saying I can play a little first base too?
Many have mentioned that. And the Cardinals, though, look at him so much as a valuable asset behind the plate. Running game, controlling what a pitcher does. The team ERA is so much better with him behind the plate. They want him there. They'll sacrifice offense for his defense behind the plate. Cardinals strand a runner as Molina grounds out to second, and he's 0 for 2. Holiday, though, 2 for 2. It's 3-2 Marlins after 3.
There's
Start is tomorrow. It's a split squad for the Cardinals. John Lackey against the Mets tomorrow here. Matt Harvey going for the Mets. Carlos Martinez at Washington. And it's the battle for number 5. Echeverria trying to drop down a bunt against Adam Wainwright. Went through a 27-pitch inning in the third. 3-2 Miami. So Garcia, Martinez, and Gonzalez. Garcia is owed $9 million this year. He's looked good. Carlos Martinez has been in the bullpen before. You know what you have there. And then Marco Gonzalez with options. That gives the club some options as well as they look ahead. There's a fly ball out to center. Randall Grichuk is there for out number 1. What it also tells you, though, and the Marlins are dealing with this too, is that if you have 3 quality guys going for number 5, there is pitching depth. We've seen that with both these organizations.
Yeah, the thing it tells you, too, is that if you're at this point in spring training and right now all you're concerned about is the battle for your number 5 spot or maybe an extra infielder, an extra player, then that means things are in pretty good shape. And both of these clubs are in pretty good shape this time of spring.
Here's Henderson Alvarez, who lined out to left in a hard hit ball his first time up. Adam Wainwright was acquired in one of the St. Louis Cardinals franchise history. There's a ground ball and a tricky hop in off the heel of the glove of Pete Cosmo. And Tommy, it was Wainwright, Ray King, change for J.D.
Want back. They can't stand a bat with J.D. Drew, and certainly the Cardinals came out on top in that one.
Hall of Famer Bob Gibson with 251 wins in that first franchise history. His fourth bunted foul, and the range is picked up again. I always say that the amazing thing about Bob Gibson, and I know you respect baseball history just like anybody else, 251 wins, 255 complete games. That's amazing.
Those complete game numbers just throw up.
Into the count. What about the Brett Butler influence on D. Gordon?
Another terrific influence. We talked about Perry Hill working with the infielders and working with D. Gordon at second. But Brett Butler can not only work with D. Gordon on his base stealing, but also in his bunting capabilities. Brett Butler with 245 career bunt hits.
Slowly hit, and they just get him at first. Dean Anna puts him away. And Henderson Alvarez advancing to second base.
Yeah, quite an influence. Brett Butler, terrific coach. The players love him. His nickname Bugsy. And Bugsy puts in a lot of time, not only working with the base stealers, but with Echeverria, with D. Gordon in their bunting.
One thing I noticed in seeing Christian Yelich a couple of springs ago, and I thought he was the best player in camp for the Marlins, was just his batting eye, how he takes a pitch, the balance that he has at the plate, and you see that night in and night out.
You know, last year, and you talk about it as a 22-year-old last year, he's 23 now, an on-base percentage of .362. Scored 94 runs, primarily hitting in the leadoff spot, so now with D. Gordon a Marlin, Yelich moves into the number 2 hole.
First round pick in 2010, won the Gold Glove last year. As we mentioned earlier, is signed a 7-year contract as the rain again picks up and the wind a little bit here at Roger Dean Stadium. The 1-1 pitch. Maybe a situation where our home plate umpire Mike Estabrook is trying to eke out one more out from Adam Wainwright, and then they'll bring the tarp out. We shall see. 3-1. There's that batting eye.
Talking about number 2 hitters with Yelich primarily the leadoff man last year, the Marlins used 11 different players in the number 2 spot last year.
A 3-1 pitch. And a base hit into right as that ball is skipping through the infield and onto the outfield grass. The throw by Hayward is not in time, and Alvarez scores the 4th run for Miami.
There's a good example not only of the hitting of Yelich, but the athletic ability of Alvarez. A lot of pitchers don't score on that, but he's got pretty good speed. He runs the bases well, so Yelich adds another run to the scoreboard thanks to the running ability of Alvarez.
I am shocked we are still playing this game.
Yeah, it's because you hold your breath when you see a pitcher rounding the bases in a pouring rainstorm. And now they're going to come off the field, it looks like.
Yeah, they're going to put the tarp on the field, and that may be it for both starters today, depending how long this delay is. So at 2:06 Eastern time, they pull the tarp out onto the field. As you know, Tommy, many times the immediate future of the game is now dependent on how quickly they can get the tarp on the field.
And general rule of thumb is that the grounds crew in a minor league / spring training park sometimes isn't as efficient as we see at the major league level. Of course, at Marlins Park, we don't have to worry about that, Dan. We have the retractable roof. We just open and close it. Takes about 12, 15 minutes.
You did for a number of years. I sat through a lot of those delays. I'm thankful for the new ballpark. I love it. It's beautiful. And I love the roof. No roof here. We'll be back with you when they start playing. on the mound and due up Giancarlo Stanton. And I'm assuming, Tommy, the varsity, so to speak, will be out. We're going to see a lot of the guys that could be bench players, could be minor leaguers, and guys that could chew up some innings. They're going to work on the field. They continue to do that. When I was watching, the big concern for me was seeing the outfield and just how wet and slick that was on a couple of those base hits.
Well, it was. The one thing about South Florida, when it rains, it pours, but when the sun comes out, things seem to dry up quickly. So hopefully that's the case. It looks like the grounds crew did a terrific job getting things ready. And you're right, the varsity has headed back into the clubhouses. We'll get to see guys fighting for jobs.
Look at our game summary. First inning, Giancarlo Stanton taking Adam Wainwright deep into left center. His second home run this spring. The Cardinals then would answer with a home run of their own. And that is Jason Hayward with his first of the spring and his first extra base hit this spring as well. Third inning, Adam Wainwright roughed up just a little bit as Dee Gordon puts this into play, and all of a sudden he was off to the races. And for Dee Gordon, a triple. It was Yelich then dropping down a bunt, and then Stanton the double into left. That would score Gordon. Ichiro Suzuki would draw a bases-loaded walk. The Cardinals then would answer with a RBI single by Matt Holliday to drive in Matt Carpenter. And then here come the Marlins yet again off of Adam Wainwright, that base into right. Off of Wainwright from Christian Yelich. The slide by the starter today, the starting pitcher, Henderson Alvarez. And that made it 4-2 Miami. And that's where we stand right now. A lot of changes, though, as we look out on this field. We'll try to get you caught up as we go along. As Easley is your new catcher. Villanueva is the new pitcher for St. Louis.
Yeah, I've always had a rule of thumb, Dan, in spring training that with changes being made in spring training games, and in this case, an overload of changes, it's a relaxed atmosphere here in Florida for spring training. So let's not try to get caught up too quickly. We'll get you the new names, and we'll let you know who's in what position and who's going to bat. So we'll gradually ease into it. So it's a relaxed atmosphere. That's why we try to approach it that way.
And if we can't figure it out, we'll just make it up.
I do know that it appears that Don Kelly was going to hit, and all of a sudden looks like Valdespin is going to go on in and hit in Stanton's spot.
Jordani Valdespin had a couple of really good games against St. Louis at your ballpark last year. And Kelly will hit. That'll be from Michael Morse, so he's on deck. The third baseman is Ty Kelly. Pete Kozma is still at short. Dean Anna at second. Xavier Scruggs is at first base. Gillespie is the runner at first base following the hit by Yelich. And the first pitch by Carlos Villanueva is taken for a ball high. So 2 outs, a 1-0 count, and a runner at first.
Jordani Valdespin has had a tremendous spring, hitting .375. Seems like every time he gets in there, he does something that draws your attention, gets a big base hit. On the spring, has 12 base hits.
What makes Villanueva a very attractive commodity for the Cardinals potentially is that he's a swing man. He could go in your rotation. He could be a long man in your bullpen. And there's a fly ball lifted out to right. I believe that's Steven Piscotty shading from the sun and puts it away. It is Piscotty, one of the top prospects in the outfield for St. Louis. So Villanueva gets the final out of the top of the fourth. We're midway through 4. Marlins on top 4-2. Tommy Hutton, Dan McLaughlin with you. Tommy, Fox Sports Florida. Dan from Fox Sports Midwest. A lot of changes for the Marlins, and Tommy's going to tell us about this new hurler.
Well, first off, we have the 25-year-old left-hander, Andrew McCurahan, a left-hander Rule 5 guy out of the Cubs organization. So the Marlins have to make a decision with McCurahan, who's a guy who they would use as a left-handed specialist. So far has had a decent spring training. McCurahan, good fastball and slider mainly from this lefty.
And the 1-0 is taken for his strike. Randall Grichuk, one of the regulars, was in the starting lineup at the beginning of our telecast this afternoon in center field. Grounded out to third, his first time up sharply. It's a 4-2 lead for the Miami Marlins. Outfield plays him to pull. And a breaking ball drops in for a strike, and it's 1-2.
And Dan will let you know who's in that outfield right now.
I'm ready.
Tyler Colvin's in left field. Jordani Valdespin's in center. And the right fielder is Gillespie. So there you go.
Not exactly Yelich, Suzuki, Ozuna, Stanton.
Which is what we had the first half of this game.
Love that outfield of the Marlins.
And have a new look in the infield as well.
Here's a 1-2. And a ground ball that's hit to Reed Brignac. He's at short now over to Don Kelly, the former Tiger. And there's one away.
And the second baseman is Jeff Baker. The third baseman, Donovan Solano. And the new catcher is Jonathan Solano. So the Solano brothers in the game at the same time today.
Cool story there. After the Nationals released Jonathan, the catcher, the Marlins signed him to a minor league contract. The Solano brothers are 2 of 14 native Colombians to appear in the majors in the second set of brothers.
I think if you're a left-hander and you're trying to make a ball club, one of the keys is to work well against an opposing lefty, because that's who you're going to see, and that's the case right now for McCurahan.
Sharp breaking ball there to Dean Anna. Anna walked his first time up on 4 pitches. You know, a concern for both these managers is getting the work in for their potential opening day starters. It wouldn't be surprising if maybe Wainwright as well as Alvarez, there's a race to the bag, out at first, but did a little extra work maybe behind the scenes and undercover this facility here at Roger Dean Stadium.
Well, you have the feeling that Mike Matheny wanted to see a little bit more from Adam Wainwright, more than his 3 2/3, and the same goes for Henderson Alvarez, who just worked 3 innings.
PFP.
Pitchers fielding practice. It pays off on the back diamonds early in spring training camp. Don Kelly with the feet a little bit high, but he had a nice target in McCurahan.
You played some first base, you played the outfield. You were a part of a number of those drills. You've probably done that 1,000 times.
Yeah, you learn to do it in your sleep almost. You hope the pitcher's there. You want to give it to him as a first baseman. You want to give it to him as quickly as possible.
So 2 outs and nobody on, and here's Pete Kozma. The starter at short and still in this game. And he looks at a strike. Stephen Piscotty is on deck. Pete flied to center his first time up. And quickly, no balls and 2 strikes. I think if you're the managers too, the only thing that you're hoping for is that you come out of this game and no one gets injured with the wet turf and the surface that they're playing on right now. That's the last thing you need in spring training. In the dirt, 1-2.
Well, it seems to be the common theme. And you read articles online every day in the newspaper about players that are going down with each team. And if you can come out of Arizona or come out of Florida with a healthy 25-man roster, you're going to be in good shape.
The 1-2 pitch to Pete Kozma. I'm sure your fans would find this of interest, and you as well. But John Buck, a former Marlin, officially retired this morning.
We always like to say one of the good guys. John Buck certainly one of the good guys in this game. We wish him well.
2-2 is a base hit to left. Brings in Stephen Piscotty. John Buck was part of that monster deal with Toronto and Miami a couple of years ago. The deal that gives the Marlins an everyday shortstop, also today's starter, Henderson Alvarez. You don't see many deals that big with that many players this day and age. With the money as much as it is a part of the deal, hard to make that match. Here's Piscotty, who is in the top 100 of Baseball America in terms of prospects and considered arguably the #1 prospect for St. Louis. Former third baseman out of Stanford. Did not get the call-up, Tommy, last year in September, which did surprise some, but he made good use of his time as he picked up an engineering degree from Stanford. Finished his studies.
Well, that's certainly making good use of your time.
I would say so. Even though it's wet out there, some of the fans have stuck around.
Yeah, drop the towel down. Get the towel down on the berm.
Great place to take in a game. Right next to the bullpen of the St. Louis Cardinals. You talked about the relaxed atmosphere that is spring training, and for these two franchises, the Hall of Famers Tony Perez and the Hawk Andre Dawson, you'll see them roaming around. Runner goes, it's Kozma, and a stolen base. Ball hits him, gets away, but does not advance. And the Cardinals for years had Red Schoendienst down here, and Whitey Herzog, Bob Gibson. He'll make an appearance tomorrow at the ballpark. Lou Brock. Great history.
That's the one thing I enjoy about being a part of the Marlins and getting to see Tony Perez and Andre Dawson, who were former teammates. Getting to see them, but also sharing the complex with the Cardinals and seeing a Lou Brock or a Bob Gibson come into camp.
2-1 the count on Piscotty. Represents the tying run for St. Louis and takes a ball low. Through 2002, the Expos shared the stadium with the Cardinals until they swapped with the Marlins as part of the Marlins sale to Jeffrey Loria. The Expos, now the Nationals, then moved to Space Coast Stadium in Vieira, Florida. The 3-1. And Piscotty drives it into right center field. Picks up an RBI base hit, looking for two. Kozma will score. Piscotty stops at second base with a 2-out double, and it's now 4-3 Marlins.
Really nice hitting by Piscotty, and it all was set up by the stolen base. Kozma got a great jump. He was either going on movement or he just got a good read of McKirahan, and then good hitting by Piscotty. Drives the ball into the opposite field gap. You can see why he's rated highly as a prospect.
Would like to see a little more power from him, but he has been a guy that's hit for average and hit many, many doubles. Here's Ty Kelly. He's a switch hitter and still trying to make this club potentially as a bench player. Drafted by Baltimore in 2009, 13th round. Hails from the same college as former Cardinals utility man Daniel Descalso, and that's UC Davis, and that would be his role if he does make the club. He's hitting .214 this spring, but a high on-base percentage. He's drawn the most walks of anybody in the Cardinals camp. Tommy, that's his MO. He just will not chase pitches out of the strike zone.
My partner Rich Waltz on Fox Sports Florida would certainly always enjoy Descalso, because my partner a grad of UC Davis.
Daniel was a vital player to some championship teams, and he signed with the Colorado Rockies.
He's the kind of guy you wish well.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Good. You mentioned good guys in the game, John Buck. Descalso, one of those. And a 1-2 pitch to Kelly. Kelly has had success in the minor leagues. All-star in 2009, the Penn League. 2011 at South Atlantic, 2012 the Carolina League. The Cardinals traded a young lefty to get him from Seattle. 1 ball and 2 strikes. Piscotty, the tying run at second base. That's taken high and away, 2-2. Yeah, some of the regular faces I'm sure that your fans are used to seeing, like a Descalso or Jason Mott. Pat Neshek, all have moved on. Mott with Chicago. Neshek is now with Houston. This time last year, he was a non-roster invitee. Not much was expected of Pat, and he makes the club and then becomes an all-star and turns out.
That was an incredible story.
Oh, 2 years and $13 million with the Houston Astros. Another one of those really good people that you enjoy being around in the game. 3-2 the count on Ty Kelly. I've been down here for just about the entire camp. I have not seen Ty Kelly hit without a 3-ball count. Literally, I've not seen it. And he chops it towards second base. That's Baker, and they get Kelly. Piscotty with an RBI double to cut into the Marlins lead. 4-3, Miami on top.
The body.
Event or a fundraiser for your organization, arrange your next group outing at Marlins Park. Ask about our new food and beverage options, including VIP groups, all-you-can-eat seats, and the new Clevelanders Sunday Brunch. Call 1-877-MARLINS or go to marlins.com/groups today.
Along with Tommy Hutton of Fox Sports Florida, I'm Dan McLaughlin of Fox Sports Midwest. A split telecast today. Marlins with a 4-3 lead. Villanueva got the final out last inning in relief of Adam Wainwright. And Don Kelly will be the hitter for Miami.
Dan, we talked about different spots to fill on the ball clubs, and Don Kelly certainly battling for that extra spot on the bench. And one of the things he has going for him, or I guess you could say many of the things he has going for him, is he can play just about every position. An extremely versatile player.
No balls and 2 strikes on Kelly.
Kelly got a nice round of applause yesterday in the game in Lakeland against the Tigers, a former Tiger and an extremely popular player in Detroit.
Here's a 1-2. And it's held on to by Easley, and Villanueva has the strikeout. Talking about some of the former players that are in each camp, and the Cardinals have Cal Eldred, who dresses out every day. Ryan Franklin, the former all-star closer. And you mentioned Don Kelly, a fan favorite with Detroit, a fan favorite in St. Louis, number 51, Willie McGee. Here's Donovan Solano. Outings like this can be very important for a Carlos Villanueva, depending on how things shake out with that number 5 starter for St. Louis. Carlos Martinez may wind up in the pen and take that spot as Solano rips it down the left field line. A couple of hops and off the wall, and it's a 1-out stand-up double. And in left now, that's Anthony Ray, a minor leaguer, wears number 98 here in camp with the Cardinals.
Boy, it was able to sneak under triple digits with the uniform number.
But scouts are everywhere. We see them looking at all the different players that come through camp, and if it's not a spot with one of these teams, it could be somewhere else.
We're always surprised that Donovan Solano snuck through the cracks in the Cardinal organization.
We are too.
7-8 years in the minor leagues, and he's done a nice job the last couple of years as a Marlin.
That's popped foul and out of play. This is Colvin, who spent time with the Cubs and the Colorado Rockies. Solano, the runner at second base. The 0-1. Good pitch by Villanueva. Villanueva finished up last year on a high note. 1.69 ERA and 17 relief appearances. That was after the All-Star break. At 16 shutout innings at one point. That was a career high for him. And opponents hit just above 100 as a reliever last year for Chicago. Also worked a bit out of their rotation. The 0-2. And a ground ball right side. And Scruggs makes the play. Takes it himself. 2 down. Solano advancing from second to third.
Boy, that was a tough hop. Not an easy play with the big first baseman, Xavier Scruggs. Just was able to short hop it. That ball gets by him. It's all the way into the right field corner.
What a thrill this must be. Your brother's down at third base and you're up at a big league game in camp at the plate.
Well, Marlins had a game like this the other day, and it was Donovan Solano who scored on the game-winning hit from Jonathan Solano.
That's great. And again, they hail from Colombia. Not many players have come from there. Reed Brignac is on deck.
Just 11 at-bats for Jonathan Solano, but 6 base hits.
That's making an impression. Spent time with the Washington Nationals. One of the biggest stories right now in spring training, whether it's here in Florida or out in Arizona, the camp being put together by Chris Bryant of the Cubs. Last check, 9 home runs. 9.
I thought you were going to tell me he hit another one, but I don't think the Cubs have started their game tonight. They're playing a later game in Arizona. So he's stuck on 9. That's an interesting story, you know, over the years. And I think I understand both sides. I understand the business side, but I understand the Chris Bryant side as well, and the Cubs fans side.
You would have to think he gives you a better shot to win and ready to make his major league debut. Third baseman.
But I'll tell you what, as a young hitter, if he does start the season at third base with the Cubs, it's awfully hard to hit in April, early May at Wrigley Field. Wind blowing in, the grass is thick.
Sure.
There's no ivy out on the wall. It's all brown. It's cold. It's tough to hit.
Here's a 2-2 in the dirt.
Try to sell that to Scott Boras, though.
Right. Good luck. St. Louis will start the baseball season at Wrigley Field in Chicago.
So you may see Chris Bryant in that opening day lineup. Or may not.
3-2 pitch. Chop towards third. And Kelly makes the play. We're midway through 5. Marlins have the lead 4-3 over St. Louis. the #1 live streaming sports service. It's now available. Join the millions of subscribers. Watch every out-of-market game live in true high definition on over 400 devices. All you have to do is visit MLB.tv for details. 4-3, the Marlins have the lead. Ironton, Missouri, and Farmington, Missouri. Some of the fans flying down to Fort Lauderdale and drive up or to West Palm. Take in spring break just to get out of the weather of St. Louis.
What did we look earlier? It's about 40. 40?
Yeah, you reminded me.
Yeah.
And I'm happy to be here. Weather has been outstanding for the most part down here all spring. Here's Peter Borges. He has had a tough camp at the plate.
We got a Subaru. That's where she's at her first blood. Saw her first day of school.
And the 0-1 pitch from the lefty to Borges. Fights it off, and that's a base hit into center.
Well, it came into that at bat, Dan, just 2 for 29, so I'm sure that felt pretty good for Borges.
Cardinals the other day, Tommy ran wild on Baltimore, and certainly a guy you think about that could run if he gets on. Can't steal first, but that's Peter Borges, and he's got tremendous speed. He's one of the fastest players in the game.
Well, we saw Pete Cosma get a tremendous jump against McCarahan, the left-hander, back in the 4th inning, and later came in to score.
Here's Ed Easley, catcher in the Cardinals minor league system, and a check on Peter Borges. So how do you size up the Marlins inside that Eastern Division?
I think it's going to be a good battle with the Marlins and the Nationals. There's no question the Nationals have. There's another tremendous jump. No chance for Solano.
Ball into center, but Peter will stay put.
There's no question the Nationals have a tremendous, if not the best, starting rotation in baseball. But right now, I was reading this morning that their terrific third baseman, Anthony Rendon, might not start the season healthy, might be on the disabled list.
Dealing with an MCL in the knee.
Jason Worth hasn't swung a bat much in spring training so far.
As of yesterday, had played 5 innings in the outfield. That was it.
Drew Storen, their closer, hasn't done a lot of pitching. So they have some issues. Denard Span, their center fielder, is going to be out till probably May with core surgery.
Dealt with a hernia in the offseason, had that surgery, then to clean that up, another surgery on the core.
So the Nationals need Bryce Harper to step forward. They need some guys to fill in while they have some of those absences. So if the Marlins get off to a good start, I think that's a good sign for them, because the Nationals might not get off to such a good start. But they're gonna come at you every day with a tremendous starting pitcher.
And the Marlins will get an early barometer of just how they compare against some of those division rivals early in the season. As Easley strikes out, with the exception of a 3-game interleague home series against the Rays, the Marlins play exclusively within the National League East through May 6th. So basically a full month of going inside the division.
And the other thing, even though the Mets lost Zach Wheeler, the Mets will come at you with some pretty good starting pitching as well. So Mike Redmond knows what's in store for his ball club, especially early on, the first month and a half of the season.
Xavier Scruggs had great power in the minor leagues and played winter ball to try to improve his resume to make a club. He's a natural first baseman, but played the outfield in winter ball. And hitting just 174 this spring with an RBI and no home runs. Borges, the tying run at second base for St. Louis. They play him to pull. In on his hands, and he pops it up. 2 down. Even though it's spring training, you know that Mike Matheny wants to see, after Borges gets to second base, at least advanced to third and a chance with those two guys coming up to drive him in to tie it up.
Well, the other thing, too, with this spring training game and with the rain delay, Villanueva is going to bat here because Mike Matheny wants to give him another inning or two.
And Villanueva looks at a strike. It is not Villanueva, but Villanueva. He serves on the executive committee of the Players Association, and one of the things that he's done is tried to get to those kids that do not speak English, and Borges is picked off between second and third. We'll tell you that story when we come back. Villanueva back to the mound as Borges is picked off at second base. Not what manager Mike Matheny wanted to see. 4-3 Marlins as we head to the sixth.
Behind home plate and along the first baseline that can be rented for just one game. Suites accommodate groups from 16 to 70 guests, offer upscale contemporary furnishings, and feature exquisite food and beverage options. Call 1-877-MARLINS or go to marlins.com/groups today.
Third inning of work now for Carlos Villanueva. 4-3, the Marlins leading the St. Louis Cardinals. Villanueva was part of our Chevy called to the pen. I was telling the story, Tommy, before Borges was picked off about Carlos being on the executive committee for the Players Association, and one of the things that he strives for is to make sure that those kids that are in the Dominican or wherever they may be, they don't get cheated. You know, to make sure they have an understanding of where they should be in terms of what they should make. Line them up with a proper agent, and Carlos has done that for a number of younger players.
That's a nice step forward, and certainly helping out the Latin kids
no
that
doubt.
way.
Here's Reed Brignac, took over at shortstop, and the first pitch is popped foul. Some changes on the infield for St. Louis. Dean Anna is now at shortstop. Ty Kelly shifts to second base, and Scott Moore is over at third.
So basically what is happening, Dan, is that the middle infield shifting around the way the umpires shift around during a spring training.
Right. Little floater into center field and a base hit. And Brignac fights it off for a leadoff base hit to start the top of the sixth. Reed Johnson, the pinch hitter now for Miami. Johnson, to me, is a player like we talked about with Descalso and some of the others, the winning type ball players. He seems to be that guy. Yeah,
he is, and just a tremendous clubhouse presence. A guy who had a solid year last year. Gives you a tough at bat.
So Johnson, the pinch hitter, right-hander throwing in the bullpen for Miami. And that's taken for a strike. Miami last year was 77 and 85, fourth in the National League East, but they improved from 62 to 77 wins. Big uptick in wins.
Everybody will tell you it's that next 8 or 10 that's the toughest. To get over 500, get in the upper 80s, maybe a chance for postseason when you get into that territory.
I also saw where you'll be traveling in style this year with a new jet for the club.
I'll text you from my new seat.
Brand new jet for the club, all the miles that you guys log being in southern Florida. And that is a factor. I mean, you look at how you travel as opposed to what we have in the Midwest, which, you know, our longest trip may be 3 hours. Yeah, that's a big difference.
We have a lot more late arrivals. Of course, when you go coast to coast, you're talking 5.5 hours.
There's a swing and a miss, and Johnson strikes out against Carlos Villanueva.
And knowing all that, Marlins ownership wanted to try to accommodate, make things as comfortable and hopefully help you win a few more games. So that's why the new plane is a 84 seat. I think a plane that would seat over 300 normally. So wow. 84 first class seats. Good pitch by Villanueva to get Reed Johnson.
Here's Jeff Baker, took over at second base for Miami. Check on the runner at first. Reed Brignac. Also a couple of chefs have been added to the Marlins staff. So they're trying to do everything they can, it looks like,
well, one
to
of
get
those
as comfortable as they
my
can.
personal chef.
Is that right?
Yeah, the other one for the team. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. You look awfully healthy, too. You look good.
But I believe the Marlins, San Diego, Seattle, because of their locations, those teams are usually in the top as far as logging the most miles.
Seattle is number one.
Yeah.
And it makes sense. I mean, this is your investment in your players, the assets. And who knows, that comfort maybe does help throughout a long season. Runner goes on a good jump, and it's hit into right center. Calling for it, Peter Borges makes the catch. And Brignac is back to the bag at first. One thing that Peter Borges will give the Cardinals is an element of speed. And in the National League, as we've seen time and again, the double switches, how important that can be. Retrace your steps, and we see that here from Reed Brignac.
Good job by Brignac. Let's see, you got to touch the bag. Once you cross the bag and think about third base, you have to retouch it. And he did that, so good job on his part to get back to first base in time.
So 2 outs and a runner at first. This is Gillespie.
Yeah, Cole Gillespie, remember, came in a pinch run for Yelich right after the delay. So this is his first at bat today.
We're going to check on the runner at first. Cardinals will be here tomorrow. Matt Harvey against John Lackey. The Mets will make the trip from Port St. Lucie. Popped up on the infield. And Kelly puts it away. Villanueva, 2 1/3 scoreless thus far. It's 4-3 Marlins. Along with Tommy Hutton, I'm Dan McLaughlin. It's a split telecast. This is Claiborne, the new right-hander that Tommy will tell you about.
Yeah, Preston Claiborne's had a little big league time back in 2013. 44 games with the Yankees. Last year, 18 games with the Yankees. Right-hander out of Tulane. You know, it's always interesting with players, pitchers, and hitters. You have that opportunity. You probably come to camp knowing that it's a long shot if you're going to make the 25-man roster. But you can impress. And I'll never forget, you have guys who will have a big game or make a couple of good plays, or a pitcher comes on and throws a good inning. Come July or August, there'll be some guys hurt, some injuries.
Sure.
You might need somebody, and they're going to remember that appearance in the spring.
That was Blake Drake, who grounds out to short. And this is, I believe, Anthony Ray, young minor leaguer for the Cardinals at the plate. Claiborne delivers a strike. Mitch Harris, he's an interesting story. Right-hander trying to make the club for St. Louis out of the bullpen from the Naval Academy. It's getting loose as we speak. So Villanueva is done. 2 1/3 of scoreless baseball. That's popped foul and out of play. There's a look at Mitch. Had 5 years off. The Cardinals drafted him, and at that point in time, he was throwing low to mid-90s. Finished up his service with the Academy. Was back in pro ball last year. And was throwing around 87, 88. Well, he has come to camp and opened up a lot of eyes. Many believe that we'll see him in the major leagues, like you're talking about, because he's made such an impression. And the impression that's been made is the fastball is starting to get back to where it once was.
Yeah, how many teams during the course of the year utilize just their 5 starters and the bullpen, the 6 or 7 guys who are in that bullpen all year? There are all kinds of changes.
So Ray pops out for out number 2 as Harris continues to throw. And it brings in Dean Anna, who started this game and has walked and also grounded out.
So far, anybody gets the game ball in this one, it could be Dean Anna or Pete Cosma, because they've been in the whole time.
He stayed in the game.
Yeah.
Yeah. Forget the home runs and RBIs. And
forget the long home run
Right.
that Stanton hit, the long home run that Hayward hit.
The guys that took one on the chin today.
Well, it might go to Dean Anna because Cosma's out now.
Yeah, I think Dean's the last one standing.
Yeah.
He had a walk-off hit a week ago against Baltimore. And he looks at a strike, 1-1. You're auditioning for other teams, too, aren't you, Tommy? I mean, that's, you know, part of the equation of spring training and all the scouts that are in attendance here today. Those guys see you.
Yeah, the professional scouts, each one, especially during spring training, will be assigned 2 or 3 teams. And it's always great for the scouts who come here because of the 2 teams that share the facility. And they have to send in reports on each and every player they see.
The 2-1. Take it low. 3 balls, 1 strike.
And down the road, their organization may be thinking about making a trade or a deal. And they'll say, hey, let's see if we can get that Dean Anna from the Cardinals. Who knows? Might be able to include him in a deal.
And the 3-1 is hit to the right side. Nice play. And Anna is retired. We are through 6. Mitch Harris will come on. When we come back, it's 4-3. Miami leading St. Louis.
There's
Is Mitch Harris. He is 29, former 13th round pick all the way back in 2008. Served 5 years of active duty in the United States Navy following his selection by the Cardinals in 08. Attained the rank of lieutenant as a United States naval officer.
Well, and we thank you, Mitch Harris,
You bet.
for that service.
First and foremost, thank you to all of our men and women of the armed forces. So after a 5-year hiatus from competitive baseball, Harris is now on the cusp of becoming the first graduate, the first of the United States Naval Academy to pitch in major leagues in 100 years. Worked his way from Class A to AAA in 2014. Now he's in big league camp, and take a look at the velocity here, Tommy, and see what you think. But it looks like he's getting close to getting that call and, well, completing a dream to the big leagues. Jordany Valdespin. He's hitting .364 this camp. The velocity here at the ballpark had that at 93. So again, at the end of last year, he's hitting, 89, 91, and we've seen him hit 93, 95 in this camp.
And that's a nice jump from year to year.
And that's what he was when they first signed him. He was a hard thrower. That pitch is popped up. Scott Moore giving chase, the third baseman of St. Louis, and it's out of play. It's now Stephen Piscotty who shifts from right field to left field. Ray is out of the game, and Blake Drake is in right.
And I believe that's still Borges in center.
It is. One ball and one strike on Jordany Valdespin. Don Kelly on deck for the Marlins. Father and son at the ballpark here today.
They've got it covered, too.
They've got the Blues. They've got tattoos. They've got the Cardinals. Matt Latos would love to visit with them. The 2-1 pitch. Ground ball, right side. And taken there by Xavier Scruggs for the first out. Have you gotten up close to Matt Latos yet with those tattoos?
I have. I've had a few conversations with Matt, and he's interesting to talk to, and I actually think he's going to have a nice year because he has something to prove. He's back home. He's pitching in his hometown, and he's a free agent after this year. So I think it's an important year for Matt Latos.
Here's Don Kelly. Base hit into center. So with one out, the hitter will be Solano.
See, now in the lineup, you have to say, is it Jonathan or Donovan?
And it's not Jonathan, it's Jonathan.
Jonathan, yeah. But this one's Donovan.
This is Donovan. Got it.
The younger of the Solanos.
He's 1 for 1 today. Shows bunt and looks at a ball down and in. Colvin is on deck. Mentioned it earlier, both these teams, not a lot of suspense left in terms of who's going to make the club or rotation issues. That's a good problem to have at this time of spring.
We haven't talked too much, Dan, about the Cardinals bullpen, anchored, of course, by Rosenthal, but everything seems to be shaping up in the bullpen as well.
I'm curious. You had to see a chance to see Walden, who was part of the Hayward deal, and at one point closing games out with Atlanta, and if Kimbrel was unavailable, but a hard thrower out of the bullpen for our fans in St. Louis. What are we going to see with Jordan Walden?
Well, he also has that unique delivery where it kind of jumps at you. It looks like he jumps off the pitching rubber, jumps at the hitter toward the plate. So good stuff, good hard stuff, and should fit in nicely with looks like Matt Belisle be in the bullpen as well.
Here's a 3-0 pitch, and it's taken for a ball. So after getting the first man, Harris has allowed a base hit and a walk, and easily out to visit. I don't know about you, but when there's guys like Mitch Harris, I pull for him. When there's guys like Jose Fernandez, I pull a little extra for them with what they've gone through in their lives just to get here to play Major League Baseball. Incredible stories.
Yeah, it's those are the stories that are fun to follow, and sometimes you have a number of years. Sometimes it's over a season. Sometimes it's a number of years. But with number one, the way Jose Fernandez, a Rookie of the Year a couple of years ago, got to this country, that's a story in itself. And then winning Rookie of the Year, and then having to undergo Tommy John surgery and make his comeback from that. Hopefully late June, early July.
And for fans that don't know, he defected from Cuba, and it was quite the excursion just to get here.
He had a few opportunities, a few chances that failed. And then once he finally got to this country, he went to high school in the Tampa area. And the thing I give him tremendous credit for, Jose Fernandez, sometimes if you're speaking to him, you don't even know he's from Cuba. He speaks tremendous English, and he learned the language well. He did well in school, was a tremendous high school pitcher over there, and the Marlins were able to pick him up in the draft.
Tyler Colvin at the plate. 1 ball, 1 strike with 2 runners on, and a 1-run lead for Miami. Ground ball up the middle, could be 2. Out there on to first, double play. Exactly what Mitch Harris needed. Time to stretch on both Fox Sports Florida and Fox Sports Midwest. 4-3, Marlins on top.
Let's
We had a rain delay in this game. Adam Wainwright got the start for St. Louis. Henderson Alvarez the start for Miami. And much of this crowd is stuck around. It was sold out here today. And in steps Scott Moore. Could play third base, first base for St. Louis. And he's really picked it up after a slow start, hitting close to 500 with 4 RBIs, and really, and I mean really, made a name with his glove this spring training. There's a check swing and it's fouled back.
I think our delay today was about an hour.
Roughly, it was.
About an hour.
Yep. It hit.
Again, it's a relaxed atmosphere in spring training, so we don't have the exact numbers.
It was 2:06 Eastern time, and then roughly after 3 o'clock, we were back on the field playing. Quickly, no balls and 2 strikes. Scotty on deck for St. Louis. Second inning of work for the right-hander Claiborne. Oh, watch out. Marlins will start their season with the Atlanta Braves. You talk about a team that looks A lot different from a year ago. It is the Braves. The check swing, and he did go a strikeout of Moore.
Well, it will be an interesting Braves lineup, especially since the Marlins see Atlanta 18, 19 times a year. Without an Evan Gattis, without a Jason Hayward, without a Justin Upton. So a good part, a good meat of their order is gone. They did bring in Nick Markakis. They have a different look in their ball club this year.
Still the same guy at the back end of games, one of the best in Kimbrel. Rotation should be decent. They've added Shelby Miller, former Cardinal, that was part of the Hayward deal. Stephen Piscotty made it a 4-3 Miami lead with a double and RBI his first time up. That double was to right center, and they shade him that way this time, and it's no balls and 2 strikes. At some point, you would have to think Stephen Piscotty would make his major league debut in 2015 with the Cardinals. And that's a swing and a miss. Back-to-back strikeouts to start the bottom of the 7th for Claiborne.
Interesting strikeouts, too. The strikeout of Moore was on a good breaking ball down and in. Got him to chase it. He had 2 strikes on the hitter. And now with 2 strikes on Piscotty, he goes upstairs with a good hard fastball to throw it by him.
There's Ty Kelly for the 2nd time today. Kelly yesterday with the lone RBI for St. Louis in a 1-0 win against the Washington Nationals. A sac fly to center. 2 outs, no balls, 1 strike. Third baseman playing in. And that's a base hit to right for Ty Kelly.
See, he didn't get to that 3-ball count, but he hit the ball sharply.
First time. First time I've seen him do that. And it brings in Peter Borges, who singled to center, then was picked off after stealing second base. So 2 outs, runner at first. And Borges swing and a miss. There's Chris Maloney, who was in the minor leagues as a manager for the Cardinals for a number of years, back as the first base coach. There's the secret weapon, as he's known in St. Louis, Jose Oquendo, back at third base.
What a versatile and terrific player Jose Oquendo was.
Sure was. Kelly started towards second, stopped. You know, people forget the Cardinals back in the 80s thought that Ozzie Smith may leave as a free agent. And so Whitey Herzog and the front office got together to bring in Jose Oquendo just in case Ozzie had left, and he did not, obviously. And Jose played all over the diamond. Good player. One and 1 the count here on Peter Borges.
You were talking about those Braves ball clubs. The starting rotation looks like Wandy Rodriguez, the veteran left-hander, might be in there. And I'm just looking, not a good outing today for Wandy. Gave up 8 hits and 4 runs, but threw the ball well against the Marlins the other night.
Chien-Ming Wong was also talked about as a possibility to make the team on a hop to second. And Borges is retired. We played 7 from Roger Dean Stadium in Jupiter, Florida. The Miami Marlins leading the St. Louis Cardinals 4-3.
The action at Marlins Park in 2015. Choose from a variety of new season ticket packages, including full season, half season, and 20-game mini plans. Full season ticket plans start at just $6 per game. Secure your seats today. Call 1-877-MARLINS or go to marlins.com/2015 tickets.
Along with Tommy Hutton, I'm Dan McLaughlin. Tommy of Fox Sports Florida. Dan McLaughlin of Fox Sports Midwest is Massett is getting loose in the pen for Miami. And back for a second inning of work, Mitch Harris. Well, in addition to the 65 pitches Adam Wainwright threw for the Cardinals in this rain-shortened start, he estimated he threw another 25 in the batting cage just to get the necessary work in. I'm sure that's the same that Henderson Alvarez did as well.
Well, and they both had some pretty good hacks at the plate, too, which they usually do.
Yes, they do. Jonathan Solano, the catcher, leads it off for Miami here in the top of the 8th. 4-3 Marlins.
Yeah, you're probably right, too, Dan, about Henderson Alvarez. He threw just 43 pitches in the game, but down beyond center field are the batting cages for the Cardinals, which are covered. And down beyond left field, the batting cages for the Marlins. So an opportunity for both pitchers to go there.
Roger Dean Stadium, this facility split by both Miami and St. Louis. And by the way, this complex is the only stadium to host 4 minor league teams. You have the Jupiter Hammerheads, Palm Beach Cardinals of Class A, Gulf Coast Marlins, and Cardinals of rookie ball.
So if you love watching baseball, and not only in the spring, but this is a great place to be in the summer as well.
Chopped to short. Dean Anna makes the play. 1 away.
And for the fans in St. Louis, where we're located here in Jupiter, Florida, hopping on the turnpike heading south, maybe hour 20 to Marlins Park.
Yep.
Hour 20, hour 25 maybe.
I don't know about you. I haven't noticed much of a difference in the speed of play with the clock between innings. I have noticed, though, the hitters forgetting that they're not supposed to be able to step out. Now, Reed Brignac there, if he wants to, can step out after a swing and a miss.
Well, the other thing, too, I just think with the in-between innings clock, that it gets players ready to go once we're back from commercial break.
Mm-hmm. Rob Manfred is the new commissioner of Major League Baseball, and that's hit right to the right fielder, Blake Drake. And he's talked about speed of play being a major issue for him, and you and I were at the conference in Los Angeles when he addressed all of us, and they talked about, wanting to engage the younger crowd, and in doing that, it's maybe more for television, more so than those that are in the seats at the ballpark. This is Brady Shoemaker.
Really, fans at the ballpark don't complain too often about the pace of game or speed of game.
I've never heard it. We've got 40,000 plus every night at Busch Stadium, and never had a fan say, boy, this is taking too long. They enjoy it. Two balls and no strikes.
But
be 3 generations of fans right there. Here's a 2-0. 2-1.
Well, you have fans not only in St. Louis but in the Miami area that travel a ways to get to a game. They want to relax. They've spent their money for a nice ticket. They want to enjoy themselves.
The 2-1. 2-2. You think the fans in Miami are buying in with the contract of Yelich and Stanton, and seeing that the organization is obviously spending a lot of money?
Yeah, I think they are seeing that. I think the fans in Miami at this point are still a show-me group of fans. They want to see on the field, but I think they like what they've seen so far.
Catch made by Drake. We're midway through 8. 4-3, Marlins leading the Cardinals. 4-3, the Marlins with the lead. That's tapped foul. And easily at the plate, Nick Massett is on the mound. We've seen him in the big leagues before, and working out of the pen right now for Miami.
You know, for Nick Massett, who in 2012, 2013, lots of shoulder issues. All of a sudden, he's gotten a little life back on that fastball. 32-year-old trying to make this ball club. And I would say if he does not, he would be one of those veteran guys. He certainly has experience with Texas, the White Sox, Cincinnati, the Rockies. He has experience that if you have a guy like Massett in AAA, you can call upon him during the year.
Xavier Scruggs will be the hitter with one out, nobody on. Of interest to Cardinal fans, the Cardinals open up at Wrigley Field in Chicago a week from Sunday. And the Cubs in the process of essentially rebuilding much of Wrigley Field. Tom Ricketts, their chairman today, saying that a project that was supposed to take 4 off seasons more than likely will take 5 now. And the right field bleachers will not be complete until the middle of the summer at the earliest.
Dan, at what point in time will they be working on those broadcast booths?
Well, that's a good question, because that's not the most comfortable situation we're in Major League Baseball.
You know what? I tell people this. It's the booth at Wrigley Field is small.
It is.
To step down, it's kind of a
you better be careful.
Strange configuration. You have to be careful. But you know what? Once you sit down,
it's great.
And you get in your seat and you look out at Wrigley Field, it's phenomenal.
In the middle of the summer, a beautiful night at Wrigley.
Absolutely.
With the ivy and the way that the city gets behind the team, especially if they're doing well. It's wonderful. I mean, it's one of the great places to be.
And you'll have a few Cardinal fans in attendance to those games.
Yeah, those weekends are always well attended by St. Louis Cardinal fans. Second plate appearance for Blake Drake. Took over in right field. He bounced to short. Hard hit first time up. Jacob Wilson is moved to the on-deck circle for the Cardinals. No balls, 2 strikes with 2 down and a 4-3 Marlins lead. Breaking ball, and he hasn't seen that
nice
yet.
Inning for Nick Massett.
That was nasty right there. 4-3 Miami. Lefty that looks to be in the pen for St. Louis. He'll pitch the top of the 9th for the Cardinals. 2 years ago, Tommy, literally a historic season for Seagrass. The best ever by a lefty out of a Cardinals pen in 100-plus years of baseball, with an ERA of 0.45.
Well, his numbers fell off. You and I were talking between innings. His numbers fell off last year, but he dealt with an issue, and obviously Cardinal fans hope that he's healthy this year.
Have to take a look at the velocity. 2 years ago, it was around 95 to 97. Here in spring, he's touched 94, 95 a bit. Here's Jeff Baker. And the first pitch is taken inside. There's a look at Austin Sellers, who's our bat boy today, grandson of one of the many that help us with security here at the ballpark. All your adoring fans.
The other thing about Kevin Segrist, a local guy, South Florida, went to college, Palm Beach State College in Lake Worth, just south of here.
He was drafted in a round that doesn't even exist anymore.
And went to what seems to always be a strong high school baseball program, Wellington High School.
Originally from Buffalo, New York, and then his family moved down here. High school, his dad had to convince him to continue to play baseball. He was ready to quit. His dad said, not yet. There's that fastball up.
A wise man, a wise decision. His dad probably said, hey, you're left-handed. Hang in there.
Left-handed, you have a heartbeat, and you're growing. Young man, keep that glove on.
Ask Randy Choate what kind of a career you can have as a left-hander reliever.
You betcha. The 2-2. Randy Choate now working out of the Cardinals pen. This will be his third year in St. Louis, and you saw him with Miami. There's Randy right now.
Boy, he is the ultimate matchup guy. If you look in the baseball glossary, left-handed matchup guy, there's a picture of Randy Choate.
Randy Choate. And he may be there for another 10 years. He'd like to pitch for another 10 years. There's a breaking ball, then that's pulled foul, and there's your protection. Bullpens are in play down here, so your backups or your relievers or backup catcher better be ready to help out.
You know, the other thing about this complex with both organizations, you have, if you have a long game or a rain delay like we've had today, you can tap into a minor league camp.
Absolutely.
Say, hey, send a couple of infielders over.
Well, you just saw Baker go to his knees because he saw that liner into the seats, and let's hope it did not catch a fan. Baker right now is shook up. I'm not sure, Tommy, if it got a fan, but by all accounts, from the reaction of Baker and what's happening right now down the left field line, it looks like it did. The 2-2.
We see that all too often during the season, and it's always tough if you're the hitter who hit the ball, how they are able to regain their concentration and then step in and try to continue their at bat.
Totally agree. I'm sure Baker is shook up a little bit. He strikes out on the 3-2 pitch and the first out here in the top of the ninth.
Looked like a pretty good fastball from Segrist. Kept it down. Great location. Good spot.
A left-hander that can get in on a right-hander. That's what we're seeing here with Segrist, who was so good against lefties or righties. And Randy Choate, your typical specialist, as you say. Lefty-lefty matchup. Here's Cole Gillespie, and that is strike one.
Yeah, that year that Segrist had in 2013, 39 and 2/3 innings, he gave up just 17 hits.
Right. And a ground ball had him out in front. To short, Dean Anna. 2 down. So the Cardinals really went to their big three, and they were young guys coming out of the pen. Segrist being one, Carlos Martinez, and the closer Trevor Rosenthal.
Hey, I'm going to ask you for a little scouting report. Tell me a little bit about Shelby Miller, who the Marlins will see with the Braves this year.
Really good at the end of last year. Good fastball. You'll see him touch 95, 96, but it looked like he was gaining confidence last year as the season went on and finished on an uptick. I think you'll like him. Ball just jumps out of his hands. A guy that was a draft pick out of high school, where the Cardinals historically have not gone that route. Now they've changed that, starting with him getting a pitcher in the first round out of high school. But a hard thrower, and it looked like towards the end of last year really started to figure things out. 1 ball, 1 strike with 2 outs. Jordani Valdespin at the plate. .92 on the gun, and it's 1-2. One-two pitch by Kevin Segrist. Just misses on the outside corner. 2 balls and 2 strikes.
How do the Cardinals feel this year, Dan, about what the Cubs have done, what the Brewers have done? Cincinnati should be a little bit better.
John Mozeliak, the Cardinals GM, said it best. He said, well, you'd be hard-pressed not to have taken notice what Chicago has done. You know, you look at Milwaukee last year, 5 out of the 6 months they were in first place until the Cardinals overtook them. The Pirates, they should be as good, if not better, this year. They've gotten a guy that you know very well, the hard thrower that was in Miami, came up with the Marlins last year with the Phillies. Second stint with A.J. Burnett, second stint with Pittsburgh now. Cincinnati, if that lineup could ever stay healthy, you know, their pitching staff has got some question marks, but that lineup is really good with Votto and
yeah, that's the key.
Bruce.
Votto stays out there. Jay Bruce has to have a comeback year compared to what he did last year.
I find the Cubs to be intriguing. With their young players that we saw, though, at the end of last year, we saw a lot of strikeouts.
A lot of strikeouts.
Yeah.
A lot of strikeouts. And I think if they don't make an adjustment, that's going to continue. And it's tough to win when you have a lot of guys in one lineup that strike out a lot.
Well, they get Lester. Obviously, that's a big key for them. Joe Madden, chance for Easley down to second, and safe. Valdespin is in there. No review in these spring training games. And if Mike Matheny wanted to review this in regular season play, the Cardinals manager, he would not go out and have a conversation with the umpire and try to draw it out, make sure his video team has plenty of time to look at it from the various angles. He now will just basically whistle from the top step of the dugout and says, all right, umpire, hold on, crew chief. Don't go yet. We're looking. Okay, go ahead.
Now, if he wants to, he can go out.
Right.
But they're trying to eliminate the obligatory march out, slow walk to the umpire. It was crazy, yeah.
Here's a 2-0 pitch to Don Kelly. If I'm the Cubs right now, I'm concerned with Javier Baez. I mean, he struck out a ton last year. Over the half of his at-bats were strikeouts in the big leagues, and he's doing that again in spring training.
Yeah, and at last check, he's not having a good spring.
No. But Chris Bryant is the big name we talked about earlier. I think that the guy that is flown under the radar with him that I've always liked is Miguel Montero, who will be their catcher this year. They picked him up from Arizona.
That's a nice pickup.
It was.
For Chicago, especially with John Lester. He's going to be their opening day guy.
3-2. If the Cardinals come out of camp healthy with Walker and Wainwright and the others, I think on paper you'd have to say, Tommy, they're the team to beat.
Mm-hmm. And I would agree.
But health is the big issue. 3-2 pitch. Popped up left side. Moore giving chase and runs out of room. It's turned into a long outing here for Segrist. Already at 23 pitches.
I've always thought, though, in spring training, those are good outings. I mean, it's nice to go out and have a quick 1-2-3 inning, 8 or 9 pitches, but if you're trying to get some work in, this is Segrist getting some work in.
Good point. The 3-2 pitch on its way. Little flare to left center, and that'll drop, and the Marlins have some insurance. Don Kelly with a base hit to score Valdespin. and it's 5-3 Miami.
And I would think, too, that the thing that would upset Mike Matheny a little bit here is that Segrist, who he's going to rely on, especially to get left-handers, has given up base hits to 2 left-handers.
Sure.
Valdespin and then Don Kelly. Not hit sharply, but he stayed with it. Knew he was going to get fastball, 3-2. Stayed back and had a nice swing to take it the other way.
Here's Donovan Solano. Kelly the runner at first. Choate is ready if need be. He's got Colvin who's on deck. A double and a walk for Solano in this game.
So the irony of this inning, if Segrist is able to get Solano, he would have gotten his 3 outs to right-handed hitters, and the 2 left-handers are the ones that hurt him.
And also, you mentioned earlier the stolen base, how that turned into a run for St. Louis. Well, look at this. Stolen base turns into the insurance run for the Marlins. Runner goes on the 0-1, and a throw down to second. Into center field it goes, and Kelly will stay put at second base. So again, Miami with another runner in scoring position.
Not the greatest of jumps, but a poor throw by Easley, the catcher, way offline.
1 ball and 1 strike on Solano. Outfield is straight away.
I think it's something you'll see the Marlins do a little bit more of, especially with D. Gordon at the top of the lineup. You mentioned earlier his 64 stolen bases with the Dodgers last year. Christian Yelich had 21 steals. The Marlins as a team last year had just 58.
Right. Into shallow right center. Borges calling for it, and he'll make the play. Miami strands a runner, but they pick up a run, and they add to their lead. 5-3 as we head to the bottom of the ninth. By Budweiser. Giancarlo Stanton, the right fielder for the Miami Marlins. 2 for 2 with a double, a home run, and a pair of RBIs off a Cardinals starter, Adam Wainwright. This is the right-hander Kinley who's getting loose, and we show you the clock. Now, it's supposed to be for local TV 2 minutes 25 seconds. The break 2 minutes 45 seconds for national TV games. The pitchers have to throw their final warm-up toss before 30 seconds remaining, which he did not do. Batters must be in the box from 20 to 5 seconds left.
I like in reading some of the new rules, it talks about how The batter has so much time for his walk-up music to be played to get into the batter's box. And
essential for any at-bat, Tommy, is the walk-up music.
Is the walk-up song, absolutely.
Yeah. What would be your walk-up?
I don't know. We didn't think of stuff like that.
Uh-huh. I mean, think about that. They made the rules and incorporated the walk-up song.
That's right.
They really did. I mean, we're not joking about it. It's part of the game. Here's Tony Cruz, who is at the plate.
Well, I do think, and we've talked about the pace of play and trying to speed things up a little. You can knock off 8 or 10, 12 minutes by having the hitter ready, which in this case, this isn't working that way.
Right.
It's taken a while. Having the hitter ready, having the pitcher ready, get the ball you want. Don't ask for 2 or 3 different baseballs. And same thing with a relief pitcher when a reliever comes in from the bullpen.
Been talk about that, maybe curtailing the visits that are allowed with a manager or a coach. Yeah, well, you should have done games with me with Tony La Russa. We'd still be playing some games. Change after change.
So we
after
can
change.
blame Tony for all
right,
of this. Yeah.
Right. John Sherholtz is the chairman of the Pace of Play Replay Committee. There's a very good play in right field. Takes a hit away from Tony Cruz.
All right, you thought we were kidding. We're going to show you those rules.
So in-stadium clocks visible to the playing field, and here it's just below the main scoreboard in right center. That's what we're talking about. The amount of time for the pitchers and the batters to get set.
And again, I think it's going to kind of go along the way of instant replay. It's going to take a few years. You don't just throw something out there and expect it to be perfect the first year, as we saw in instant replay. Things will change this year.
I was asking you earlier, your final year in the big leagues was 1981.
Last year as a player was 81.
Okay. Yeah. Average time of game. Just take a wild guess what it was then.
Probably about 2.5 hours, 2:30.
2:33.
Okay.
Last year, take a guess.
Well, it's close to 3, I think. Over 3. Wow.
3:07. Average time of game. So they're trying to figure out ways to speed it up a little bit. Dean Anna is retired for out number 2.
I'll tell you a funny story. I'll make it quick. We're almost done here. I was looking back at some box scores one day just to check on times of the game. And there was an opening day in 1970, 73 or 74. Tom Seaver against Steve Carlton, Phillies and Mets. 1 hour, 56 minutes.
I was going to say 2:03, 2:05. Wow. Welcome to opening day and goodbye.
The surprise that I saw in that box score, neither pitched a complete game.
Yeah, that is surprising.
Yeah.
Here's Scott Moore with 2 outs in the final hole for St. Louis. Marlins lead it by 2, 5-3, and Moore bounces it to the right side. And this will do it. Rain delay and all. The Miami Marlins defeat the St. Louis Cardinals 5-3.
I think when you look back at this game, yes, there was a rain delay, but the Marlins certainly have to be pleased with what Giancarlo Stanton did early on.